Capricorn, someone you trust is hiding something. Do you know anyone who seems to have everything under control? Someone who smiles first, who holds the door open, who asks how you are, and who never does it reveal how he feels inside. Now, what if that person was you? Welcome. Today we're going to open a door that many people prefer to keep closed. We're going to talk about Capricorn, one of the most misunderstood signs of the Zodiac. We're not going to talk about the versions you already know, the successful boss, the organized person, the leader everyone admires. No. Today, we're going to talk about what is behind the mask. Let's talk about the secrets a Capricorn carries in silence. The pain they hide so skillfully that even their closest friends can't see it. And about a truth that will shake you. Someone you trust or someone you trust yourself. And is keeping something inside that has never been said aloud. In this video, I'm going to reveal to you 5 profound truths, things nobody tells you about Capricorn. 5 layers of the sign that will make you stop, breathe, and think, my God, that's me. But first, if you've made it this far, it wasn't by chance. So, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Leave the like now, it's free, and it helps more than you can imagine. And please turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. Shall we begin? Imagine a young child who learned, very early on, that asking for help was dangerous. Not because someone hurt her in an obvious way. Not because there was a violent breaking point. No, it was something more subtle. It was a pattern. It was the surrounding environment gradually telling her in almost invisible ways. Your emotions are overwhelming. Your needs are inconvenient. You need to be stronger. And that child heard it. And it grew. And it became one Capricorn. Capricorn wasn't born cold by choice. He was born cold for survival. The armor he built wasn't out of vanity. It was out of necessity. Each layer of control, each polite smile, each "I'm fine, thank you" was a stone placed upon another, forming a wall that told the world, I don't need you. I don't need anyone. But here's the truth that nobody tells you. Behind that wall, there is someone who is freezing to death. Think about it. Have you ever met someone who seemed to be made of stone, but who one day, for a very brief, very unexpected moment, showed such genuine vulnerability that it left you speechless? A look that lasted a second too long. A silence in the middle of a conversation that said more than 1,000 words. That was Capricorn without the mask for a moment. Capricorn is the most skilled architect there is, not of buildings, not of projects, but of versions of oneself. He builds a version that is admirable, reliable, and competent. And this version works so well, so perfectly, that little by little he himself begins to believe that this is the only version that deserves to exist. And the version that feels, that cries, that needs a hug at 2 in the morning, that sometimes wants to scream without explaining why. This version remains hidden, stored, silenced. How do you hide what hurts the most inside you? How do you expect others not to see? And how long has this been going on? Capricorn doesn't hide because they don't want to be seen. They hide because they've learned that being seen, truly, in their entirety, is a risk they can't afford. Because if someone sees everything and still decides to leave, that pain would be unbearable. So he prefers that nobody sees. Therefore, no one can destroy it. But the price of that choice is high, very high. And we'll talk about that price in the next revelations. Have you ever tried asking a Capricorn how they really are? Not the casual, everyday question. Are you okay? No. The real question. The one that asks for honesty. The one that says, I want to know how you're feeling about us, not how you look. What happened? He probably changed the subject. He probably responded with a smile and a superficial answer. He probably distanced himself a little after that, not angrily, but with caution. Because for a Capricorn, this question is no small matter. For them, this question is an invitation to a place they spend all day trying to avoid, their own inner world. The silence of Capricorn is not emptiness. It's the opposite. It's a silence that overflowing gets a silence that contains everything he doesn't say. The fears, the doubts, the moments he stayed awake at 3 in the morning wondering if he deserves what he has. The moments he wanted to call someone and didn't. The moments he swallowed something that hurt him because he didn't want to seem weak. This silence is an entire ocean hidden within a person who seems to be a desert, dry, vast, and self-controlled. Imagine a frozen lake in winter. On the surface, everything is smooth, white, perfect. You can walk on it without noticing what's underneath. But underneath, the water keeps moving. It remains deep. It remains alive. Capricorn is that lake. The surface is what everyone sees. What lies beneath, that only it knows. And here's something to think about. Why does a person strive so hard to look good? Why does someone invest so much energy in maintaining a flawless image? The answer isn't arrogance. The answer, most of the time, is fear of being a burden. Fear of disappointing. Fear that if you show weakness, people will leave, not with a drama, not with an argument, but with an even greater silence than yours. Capricorn learned this through experience, practice, and life. And then, over the years, he perfected the art of being present without being exposed, of being in the room without actually being there. But to be beside someone without allowing them to be beside you, not in physical space, but in emotional space. Have you ever been next to someone and still felt alone? Have you ever been the person who smiled the most in a meeting and felt the emptiest at home? Have you ever been the person everyone trusted and yet trusted no one? This is the silence of Capricorn, and it's not a flaw. It's a protective mechanism that has been so well constructed that it has become a prison. A comfortable, organized, and quiet prison. But prison still. Let's talk about fear. Not the obvious fear, not the fear of spiders, of heights, of the dark. Let's talk about the fear that hides within fear. The fear that a Capricorn carries like a stone in their chest that they can't see, but that they feel in every decision they make. The fear of not being enough. Simple as that. And devastating as that. Capricorn moves through life with an impressive determination. They work, they achieve, they deliver. And behind every achievement, every promotion, every goal reached, every project completed, there is a voice that says, "That's not enough. You need more. If you stop, you'll realize how empty you are." This voice is not cruel by nature. It is cruel by function. It exists to keep Capricorn in motion, because for him, stopping is dangerous. To stop means to feel. To feel means to be vulnerable. To be vulnerable means that everything he has built can crumble. So he doesn't stop. He doesn't stop at 3 in the morning when his eyes burn. He doesn't stop when his body says enough. He doesn't stop when someone near him says, "I'm worried about you." Because stopping would mean looking inward and acknowledging how scared he is. And here's the part that's going to sting a little. The fear of not being enough isn't just about achievements. It's not just about career. It's about love. It's about relationships. It's about that feeling of being in a conversation with the person you love most and thinking, if she really knows me, not the version I show, but the real version, she'll leave. So Capricorn loves from a distance. Loves with control. Loves in a way that ensures he never needs to be completely dependent on another person, because dependence, for him, is synonymous with loss. And that's the greatest irony. The person who most values what they achieve externally is the person who most needs to hear that they are already worth enough for who they are. Have you ever felt that no matter how much you did, it was never enough? Have you ever felt that, in order to be loved, you first needed to prove something? What if others knew you felt this way? Would that change how they treated you? Capricorn doesn't tell anyone this. He smiles. He plans. He delivers. And inside he waits, silently, for someone to one day see beyond the mask and say, "I see you. I see you as you truly are." And that's more than enough. But since he never shows the mask underneath, this conversation almost never happens. And then the cycle continues. I'm going to pause here for a second. If everything you've heard so far has sounded familiar, if you've recognized someone you know, or worse, yourself, I want you to do one thing for me right now. Go to the comments and write, "This is me." That's all. 2 words. But they'll say more than an entire hour of conversation. Because part of the problem with Capricorn is that he never says it out loud. He never admits it. He never puts it out there. And if you can do it here, even if it's under a pseudonym, even if it's just to a stranger on the internet, that's already a step he rarely takes. You don't need to be a Capricorn to identify with this. You just need to be human. Now, Let's move on to what comes next. And I'll tell you now, it's going to get more intense. There's a word that Capricorns use a lot to describe themselves, or that others use to describe them. Independent. He's very independent. She doesn't need anyone. That's the type of person who can take care of themselves. And in a way, that's true. Capricorn and independent. In a real and admirable way. He knows how to take care of himself. He knows how to make decisions. He knows how to support himself, emotionally, financially, in life. But here's what nobody asks. What if this independence isn't a choice, but an adaptation? What if Capricorns aren't independent because they want to be, but because they learned, at some point in their lives, that depending on another person always results in disappointment? This changes everything. Because it's no longer, I don't need anyone. It's, I learned that I can't rely on anyone to be there when I need them. And this pain is very different from the first. Imagine a child who, every time they showed they needed something, attention, affection, presence, received only indifference. Not cruelty, not aggression, simply nothing. The most devastating silence. The silence of those who should be there but aren't. This child will not grow up rebellious. They will grow up adapted. She will learn not to ask. She will learn not to wait. She will learn that everything she needs, she will have to find for herself, because relying on others only brings disappointment. And this child will grow into an adult who is praised by everyone for their strength and independence, without anyone realizing that beneath it all lies a loneliness that has lasted forever. Capricorn's independence is a scar that resembles strength. And sometimes, it's easier to appear strong than to admit that you're broken. Think about it. Do you know anyone who, when faced with a problem, says, "Okay, I'll take care of it," without asking for help? Without showing that things are difficult? Without allowing someone to be by his side at that moment? This isn't a superhero. This is someone who no longer believes they deserve anyone else's support. And here's the part that really hurts. Capricorns do this with the people they love most, not to push them away, but so that they don't recognize their depth, so that they don't become indispensable, so that if one day they leave, the hole won't be so big. But the hole is already big. The hole has been there since he was a child, and nobody saw. When was the last time someone asked you how you really were doing, and you were honest? When was the last time you allowed someone to help you without feeling like it was a sign of weakness? And what would happen if you, for a moment, allowed yourself to be human, without having to be strong? Capricorn's loneliness isn't the loneliness of being alone in the world. It's the loneliness of being surrounded by people and yet feel like nobody really knows you. And that's one of the heaviest secrets a Capricorn keeps. To get to the final revelation, we need to talk about something that Capricorn rarely lets on. How much he loves. Not the love that appears. Not the love he shows. Not the love that appears in grand and obvious gestures, but the silent, profound love, cold on the outside and a fire on the inside. The love he keeps like a secret that if someone discovers it will be completely exposed. Capricorn loves in a way that scares even himself. When he becomes attached to someone really attached, it's not a light feeling. It's an anchor. It's something that takes root within him so strongly that if that person leaves, he won't scream. He won't cry in public. He won't text begging them to come back. He'll shut down. He'll withdraw. He'll become colder, more distant, more controlled. And the world will think, Capricorn didn't mind. But the truth is exactly the opposite. He cared so much that he ran out of breath. Imagine a fire inside a closed box. On the outside, nothing. Silence. Coldness. But inside, everything is burning. And Capricorn is the person who closed that box, not because they don't want to feel, but because they don't know how to show it without risking everything collapsing. He doesn't hide his love because he doesn't want to love. He hides it because doesn't know how to love without being afraid of being abandoned. And so, to protect himself, he loves from a distance. He loves logically. He loves by doing practical things, paying bills, organizing, planning. Because that's safe. That doesn't require him to open the door to the most intimate things he feels. And the person on the other side often doesn't understand. They often feel unloved because Capricorn doesn't know or can't translate what they feel into words or gestures that the other person recognizes as love. Have you ever loved someone and been unable to show it? Have you ever received love and been unable to recognize it because it didn't come in the way you expected? What if everything Capricorn does, everything, without exception, was their way of saying, I need you? Capricorn's love isn't cold. It's not calculated due to a lack of emotion. It's calculated due to an excess of it. He loves so much that he's terrified, and then hide it. Not from you, from himself. Let's put together everything we've talked about so far. Capricorn, the sign the world admires for always standing tall, is carrying alone a weight that most people couldn't bear for even a single day. He is carrying the fear of not being enough. He is carrying the loneliness of being surrounded and yet still being alone. He is carrying the love he doesn't know how to show. He is carrying the silence that hides an entire ocean. He is carrying the armor that was made to protect him, and that has become a prison. And he's doing all of this with a smile. This is the most silent battle a human being can wage. The battle against oneself. Not against the world. Not against others. Against the very image one has created. The image that tells one that one cannot show weakness, that one cannot be in need, that one cannot be human. Capricorn was raised in a world that valued usefulness more than presence. And so he learned to be useful. He learned to be strong. He learned to be reliable. But nobody taught him how to be careful. And that's the secret he keeps more than anyone else. The outward brilliance that Capricorn projects is not arrogance. It is not coldness. It is not distance by choice. It is the light he ignites within himself to illuminate the path for others, while his own darkness remains hidden in corners that no one visits. And if you know a Capricorn, or if you are one, this is the most important part of everything that has been said here. He doesn't need you to solve everything. He doesn't need pity. He doesn't need you to save him. He needs you. Look beyond the armor and say, I know you're tired. I know it's difficult. And I'm not going away. This could be the most transformative thing anyone has ever done for him. We've reached the end of this video, but not the end of anything. Because everything we've talked about here, the secrets Capricorn keeps, the loneliness they disguise, the love they hide, this isn't just about an astrological sign. This is about anyone who has ever learned, at some point in their life, that it was safer to appear strong than to be honest. This is for anyone who has ever swallowed their pain, so it doesn't seem like a burden. This is about anyone who has ever loved in silence, because they didn't know how to show it without losing everything. This is about you. If upon hearing all of this, you felt something stirring inside, we're not going to demand that anyone change. We're not going to demand that Capricorn or anyone open up tomorrow and show everything. That's not how it works. Trust isn't built in a day. Courage doesn't appear out of nowhere. But what can we do? You can do it now. It's about creating a space where that's allowed. A space where you can say, I'm tired, it's not weakness. Where to say, I need you, it's not dependency. Where human beings don't need to apologize. Capricorn will not ask that of you. He will never ask. But if you are there when he needs you, quietly, patiently, without judgment, you will be giving him what he was never able to ask for. And that's worth more than anything he's ever achieved. So, before you close this video, before moving on to the next content, I need you to answer a question for me. And I want you to answer in the comments. Don't think too much. Just feel. Have you ever felt that silent pain inside you? That feeling of carrying something very heavy and having no one to show it to? Right below. Even if it's just one word. Even if it's just a yes. You're not alone in this. And perhaps seeing that so many people feel the same way, here in this space, is the first step toward letting go of some of what you're holding on to. If this video touched something deep inside you, something real, something you don't talk to anyone about, share it with someone who needs to hear it. No need to explain. Just send the link. Sometimes, the greatest thing we can do for another person isn't saying something. It's showing that we cared. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a like. Turn on notifications. And I'll see you in the next video.